This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, website, or online store, make it with Squarespace.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace.
This episode has been brought to you by Squarespace.
This video was supported in part by Squarespace.
This episode
is brought to you by
Squarespace.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace.
This week's video is brought to you by Squarespace.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
This video was made possible by Squarespace.
I'd like to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this week's episode.
This episode was brought to you by Squarespace.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace.
Brought to you by Squarespace.
Squarespace.
Squarespace. Squarespace. Squarespace. Squarespace. Squarespace. Squarespace. Squarespace. Squarespace. Squarespace.
So if you're like me, you've probably noticed that there are like a lot of YouTubers sponsored by Squarespace. There are a lot of sponsored YouTubers, period, these days, and I always wondered about how all that works. This year, I finally found out firsthand. See, when you make a random video that just happens to get 1 or 2 million views, your inbox starts getting filled with unsolicited offers. This guy wanted me to make a video reviewing his self-published book, promising me exposure. This guy sends me about 1 email a day begging me to join his multi-channel network. This girl wants me to do a let's play of her company's mobile game. I even get requests from monthly snack box companies asking me to do taste test vlogs. There are a lot more I could talk about. I get about 3 or 4 of these offers a week. Most of them go right to my email's trash bin, but some of those offers have money attached, sometimes lots of money. And as a creator who came up from nothing, you start to weigh your options on whether or not you should make a deal. That's the creator's dilemma. You need to support your family and yourself, and there are companies willing to help you financially, but the moment you as a creator take them up on such an offer, you'll invariably be labeled a sellout. And you have to keep in mind that for every such video you make, you risk losing a portion of your audience. So for example, the $3,000 that I'm offered by the development team of Outer Space Amusement Park Tycoon 4 might not be worth the 50,000 subscribers that I would lose the moment they see a video game Let's Play in their subscription feed with my name on it. Up to this point, I've said no to sponsored videos simply because I either didn't believe in the product or because I didn't feel it would be a good fit for the channel. But after a year of quality content, eventually the big boys came knocking. Today I'm going to tell you what goes on behind the scenes when making a sponsored video. You see them all over YouTube, but you probably know very little about how they come to fruition. Well, want to know more because the video that you're watching is a sponsored video, so I decided it would be appropriate to use it to talk about how sponsored videos are made.
Dude, so meta.
Now to lay the groundwork, the first thing you should know is I have a website, austinmcconnell.com, and I've always hated it. Nobody ever went to it, it was bland and unimpressive, and I tried about every web design platform imaginable, and it always looked bad. Aesthetic is important to me, on film, on YouTube, and yes, on what should be my digital showroom. But over time, my embarrassing website just got more and more embarrassing, and so I essentially used it as a landing page to redirect people elsewhere. I eventually just settled on having it auto-forward to my YouTube channel, because, I mean, even that was better than some cheesy Tumblr template that made the whole thing look like somebody's abandoned live journal. It remained that way for a long time, but then one day, actually Friday, September 22nd, 2017 at 11:39 a.m., I got an email from a representative at Squarespace. We'll call him KD. Hey, this is Austin from the future. So at this point in the video, I was going to show you the actual email that was sent to me with the personal information redacted, but Squarespace contacted me and asked me to remove the email's contents from the video completely. They felt it was just a bit too confidential. There was this really hilarious joke where the Squarespace employee would take the form of NBA champion Kevin Durant, except with a British accent. It made sense in the original cut. Anyway, I just decided to replace all of the confidential paperwork in this video with an artist's approximation of them. Carry on.
Hey Austin, I'm KD with Squarespace. We like what you're doing with your channel and we'd love to sponsor you. If you're interested, let us know and we're happy to provide more details. Thanks.
Upon receiving that email, my first thought was... No, not really. My first thought was actually, this is fake. Like I said, I get a bunch of unsolicited offers, many of them promising huge partnerships with big-name companies, but after you do a little investigation, you find out they want to sign you to a ridiculously restrictive contract that'll take more cash out of your wallet than what it puts in. Needless to say, I was skeptical of KD. But I decided to shoot him a quick response, and after a couple of back and forths and some internet sleuthing, I was able to confirm his identity, and pretty soon we were talking rates. Now, to be honest, I really didn't know what the going rate was for video sponsorships, and I looked around the internet for help, and the the internet got back to me, as it usually does, with contradictory information. I learned that there was this figure called CPM, cost per thousand, a marketing term that basically means how much an advertiser pays for every 1,000 views. It's a metric used in pretty much all advertising areas: radio, TV, newspapers, and of course, nowadays, YouTube. So, for example, if YouTuber SassyFrastMaxTats_89 posts a video online that gets 20,000 views and an advertiser pays her a rate of $10 CPM, or $10 per thousand views, she makes about $200. But, of course, that begs the question, what's the standard CPM? And there's a lot of thoughts about this. It depends on a lot of things: how popular the YouTuber is, how effective they are at generating referrals, and how much money the company in question is willing to spend. I've seen recommended CPMs vary from $15 to $50, and there's really no wrong answer. You just have to work it out with the company in question. I came up with a rate that felt right for me, and I sent it on over to KD with the requested information, and we eventually settled on an agreement. The conversation went something like this. I said,
Yo dog, I'm gonna need about this much money if I do a sponsored video for you.
and then KD said,
I'm willing to do half that, homie.
and then I said, Then he sent me a contract, I read over it with my legal advisors, signed it, then Squarespace signed it too, and I was given a deadline and some guidelines. Now, much ado has been made about the fact that advertisers may use their money to control creative content, but I mean, it's only fair that if they're gonna pay you money to make a video, you follow the rules that they lay out for it. And to be honest, I had pretty much no issue with what Squarespace requested. It was all fair and square. Sorry. It's the basic requests that you usually get from ad clients. I mention their products, I don't disparage their company, and I keep the content clean. So, to recap, the process for this video sponsorship went as follows. I was contacted by a company who asked if I'd be interested in a partnership for a few videos. They asked me for my rate, I provided it to them, we negotiated terms, and settled on something that was fair to both parties. They then provided me with what's called an ad read, which is a list of certain things that I was required to say, and some general ideas and suggestions for other stuff I might mention. Basically a list of product features. I actually noticed that they were really good with letting me change the ad read in a way that would fit my style better. They gave me a deadline to have the videos in by, and I got to work. All of that's pretty straightforward, but one thing I wasn't gonna do was take money from a company I didn't actually believe in. Hence, rather than just cash a check and direct you, dear viewer, to a company blindly, I decided to, actually put the product to the test, which leads me back to my awful website. Squarespace claims to be the all-in-one solution for anyone looking to create an online presence, so here's my experience with them. First thing I had to do was transfer my website from the host I was originally using. This host is known for having really bad customer service, and I figured I'd have a really bad time trying to get things moved over to a new platform. But I was pleasantly surprised that transferring domains with Squarespace is simple. I literally just had to create an account, give them the site information, and within a few minutes I had things switched over. Easy peasy. Oh, and by the way, that old host, they tried to pull some really annoying stuff to reverse the transfer shortly thereafter, but I called up Squarespace's 24/7 customer support, and they were able to fix it lickety-split. Once all that was done, actually while doing all that, the company gave me a really awesome dashboard to start designing. I've used a lot of different web designers, and I'm not just being a company man telling you that Squarespace's was by far the easiest that I have ever worked with. I mean, my wife, who has no web design experience at all, could use this thing if she wanted. In all of about 2 minutes, I was able to make an awesome landing page that looked 100 times more impressive than anything that my site had ever looked like before. One of the things about working with website templates is that you're always concerned your site is going to look like a carbon copy of somebody else's that chose to use the same template, but Squarespace allowed me to tinker with and change practically everything about the layout of my site. They've even got handy tips on how to design certain kinds of sites. If you're a small business, in a band, a photographer, if you're making a travel blog, if you're doing a wedding website, if you just feel like carving out a digital space dedicated to your dog, they'll tell you the best way to design the site. Anything you want to do differently, they'll provide you the tools to do so. I used to blog a lot, but I stopped because I never found an easy way to have a site that was both a showroom and a journal. But now I've got a way to design a site that complements both kinds of content at once. And this is the most exciting thing for me. Squarespace makes it stupidly simple to set up a storefront to sell pretty much whatever you want. They have a commerce section that that directly integrates into the dashboard to manage orders, track inventory. I can even set discounts if I want. I have never found an easy way to do this, and I've always wanted something designed this way. For the first time, I actually have the ability to sell my films, shows, and other projects directly through my personal website. No middleman. This has huge potential for me as a creator, and I've got to tell you, with what I'm working on for this next year, this could be a total game changer. I can't express how excited I am that a simpleton like me can now do this stuff. Now, there's one other thing I want to talk about. Like I said, they gave me that big ad read that had talking points of stuff they'd like me to mention, but this wasn't on it. Whatever, too bad, so sad. Here's the thing. I can edit anything on my website. I can do anything that I've talked about thus far on my phone. That's insane. It's insanely useful, actually, and I know that because all last week while putting my site together, I was away from my office. My sister-in-law was getting married. Congratulations, by the way, Sarah, and I was a few hundred miles apart from the computer that I do all of my design work from, but that didn't matter. Squarespace lets you edit and manage your website from the palm of your hand. They've got a whole list of mobile apps, and you can even use your phone's built-in browser to revise your site, make posts, share images and videos, check analytics, manage your store, whatever. This is important for me because next year I'm probably going to be doing quite a bit of traveling, and the thought of being away from my office for so long is really scary, especially since having a YouTube channel means I need to have a fairly active online presence. The thought of releasing material and managing the promotion of said material all while on the road seemed impossible a couple months ago. Now I can actually do that. I'm not too proud to admit, Squarespace impressed me. So much so that for the first time I felt comfortable recommending their product to you all. Sponsored videos are sometimes seen as shady backroom deals, and they aren't without controversy. We could get into all the potential pitfalls in a later video, but I felt like if I was going to do one, I owed it to my subscribers to be as transparent as possible about the process, so that one day, if such an opportunity arises for you, you'll know what to expect, because I know I sure didn't. Now, it's quite possible that my experience in this process was atypical. Maybe lots of sponsored videos are founded on a premise that's at best questionable and at worst dishonest. Who knows, maybe most are. So, going forward, I'll make you a few promises. First, I'm not going to become a walking billboard. My channel is owned by me. It's my name, and I'm not selling it to some company. Certain sponsorship opportunities might pop up here and there to help keep my channel running and to put food on the table for my family, but my main goal on this channel has and always will be to be me. Secondly, I will only use sponsors whose products I actually believe in. I won't try and sell you on something I haven't actually used, and if something I do advertise fails to meet my personal satisfaction, you can rest assured I'll be the first one to tell you. And finally, if you use a product that I suggest and you're not happy with it, I want to know. And you can have my assurance that I'll do what I can to let your complaints be known. And on that note, if you're feeling so inclined, maybe you'd like to try Squarespace out for yourself. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/AustinMcConnell to save 10% off of your first purchase of a website or domain. And there you go. Let me know what you guys think. Talk to you soon. Whoop, almost forgot about the end tag. If you like this video, then share it with others and subscribe to my channel. Or don't, I don't really care.